And welcome. My name is Trish. Thank you so much for joining me today. Today we're talking about Neptune. I'm going to let you know what Neptune's doing, all about Neptune, and how this may be affecting you based on your rising or your ascendant sign. So let's get into today's reading. Now, Neptune stays in a sign for 14 years. It is one of those intergenerational planets or outer planets, interpersonal planets. There's different ways of saying it. And what that means, it's an outer planet. It's very slow moving. It's just like Pluto and Uranus. And they affect the collective, or they affect a generation. So when these planets move into their new signs or new houses, they affect the whole generation coming up. So we're looking at the next 14 years being affected by this energy of Neptune in Aries. Neptune was in Pisces in its home sign, but now it's moving into Aries. Kind of very different energy to Aries and Neptune are quite different in their energies. So the other two big planets that are moving, they have moved. So next year, once they settle into their new signs, their new homes, we've got some big changes coming to the collective, big changes to the way the generations coming in will be, and the different changes that we make over the next few years, why these big three intergenerational or outer planets or transpersonal planets have made their moves. Now, Neptune it was in retrograde, so it currently is sitting in Pisces again. It retrograded back to Pisces. It's now gone direct, and it'll take another month to get back into, which will be end of January, before it starts to settle into, moves into its new home of Aries. So when I do this reading, when I'm talking about your ascendant sign, I'm going to be reading it in its Aries energy, so sign by sign. So we're talking about end of January onwards next year, how this may be affecting you. But in the meantime, what's coming up and what's happening with Neptune right now, it is conjunct Saturn. Big energies happening around Neptune at the moment. It is conjunct Saturn, both of them sitting in Pisces, and both of them are aspecting, squaring the sun. So when the sun squares Neptune, it can bring a bit of fatigue energy. It can, because it's an aspect that's a negative aspect, being a square, it causes hurdles or struggles to allow the Neptune energy to shine in its positive energy, or the sun to shine in its positive energy. So this energy that's happening right now, that's playing out in the collective right now, is the conjunction between Saturn and Neptune. Saturn wants to pull back and be very disciplined. It wants to say, okay, Neptune wants to dissolve anything that's not working. Saturn wants you to be very disciplined in building good, strong foundations, being accountable for your actions. So these two planets are playing together to be restrictive, to cause you to face what is not working for you, be accountable for what's not working. And Neptune says, let's release those things. Now that's happening in Pisces, so whatever house that is for you, Pisces is for you, is the area of your life that's going to play out. I'm not going to run through that today. I'm going to run through when it goes into its new home and what that means for the next 14 years. So in the meantime, there could be a little bit of fatigue energy, a bit of confusion energy. That's what's caused by this aspect of the sun squaring Neptune, causes a bit of brain fog, a bit of disillusionment. Could be escapism too, because that's represented by Neptune in its negative trait. So moving into the future, we're looking at Neptune moving into Aries. Now, Aries energy is about me, where it on its axis is Libra, is us. So we've got this energy of Neptune, the collective energy of Neptune, the spiritual body of Neptune, moving into Aries, which is all about individuals. So we've got collective changes, generational changes, but it's all about individual accountability or actions, because it's being closely followed by Saturn, which is about taking responsibility for your actions, accountability, being very disciplined. Now, at the moment, right now, we have Earth energy of Saturn. Saturn rules Capricorn, which is an Earth sign. So we've got this very practical, physical energy of Saturn, where it's conjunct at the moment. Very polar opposite to the Neptunian energies. Neptunian energies are water-based. They're very flowy. Live in the world of spirit. Live in the world of the woo-woo. Live in the world of, and sometimes can be very outside of their body, get lost in transit, get lost in the spiritual essence. But that Saturn energy wants to bring you back down to earth, be accountable for your and responsible for your physical vessel. So that's what's playing out kind of at the moment with these two the conjunction between Saturn and Neptune. So let's start getting through this energy now, because there's a lot going on. There's a couple of things that Neptune represent before I move into each sign. Neptune represents the spiritual body, the spiritual aspect, whereas Saturn represents the physical, practical nature, where Neptune is more about spirit, following the flow of the universe, being very flowy, being very open. It's all about boundaries, having open boundaries between, the physical and the spiritual. They're very intuitive because of that openness around spirit and being very drawn to the spiritual body. It also represents disillusionment as well, when it's played out in its negative way. When you forget to come back and ground back on earth, you can live in the fantasy world and really be very disillusioned by what reality really is. So that's very Neptunian kind of energy played out in its most negative traits. So Neptune's positive energy is that beautifulness of harmony, flow, sensitivity, intuition. That's a kind of positive energy that surrounds Neptune. Neptune's very feminine and flowy and sensual, sensitivity, sensitive energies. It's kind of Pisces. It rules Pisces, so it's that kind of energy. It does represent boundaries. It represents the spiritual body. It represents creativity, imagination, escapism as well. And its negative trait, you tend to escape in the world of meditation. It rules meditation as well, because it's about going into that spiritual body. So that's the kind of energies around Neptune. And so Neptune takes 165 years to get right around the zodiac. So the last time Neptune was in Aries, I'm going to read these notes because last time Neptune was in Aries was 165 years ago. That was 1861 to 1874. In that time, we had American Civil War. So we have big events happen when these planets, these interpersonal or these cosmic generational planets move. Big events normally happen because of it, because it brings in change. Neptune wants to dissolve things. It wants to dissolve things that don't work. So this is all about on a collective energy. It's about dissolving the structures and the systems that no longer work for us, and moving into Aries to do that. It's about people on an individual basis saying, okay, the way things were done, not really working for our future. We need to be very accountable, especially with that Saturn energy sitting next to it, to make the choices moving forward. To and that Aries energy is quite impulsive. it is conflict, and that's why we saw that American Civil War energy, because it's about conflicts. It can cause conflicts because of that energy of Aries. It can cause competitiveness. It can cause selfishness, but it feels to be very much energy of, say, okay, what do we need to do individually, collectively, in a forceful kind of energetic, action orientated way to make these changes that are going to benefit our future. So there's also other battles. Gettysburg, 1963, ended in 1965 with the Union victory and the abolition of slavery. So that big changes that were necessary, and that took Neptune moving into Aries to actually make these things happen. So, I mean, other things in play to make these things happen, but this is a catalyst of Neptune's energy, dissolving what no longer works for the collective or for the people, for individuals. Reconstruction era, 1865 to 77, we had the passage of the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendments, abolished slavery, granted citizenship, and voting rights. All changed over that time while Neptune was in Aries. So we could be looking at some pretty big things from next year ongoing. So things that just don't work anymore, what things need to be abolished, what things need to be changed in order for us to move forward. We had another war, 1960 to 72, New Zealand and British and Maori tribes. Okay, I didn't know that one. A triple alliance, 1864 to 70, Paraguay fought Brazil, Argentina and Uruguay. That was one of South America's deadliest wars, and this is because we're talking Aries. Aries is ruled by Mars. Mars is the king or the lord of war. So this is why we're seeing so much warring energy with this Neptune. And Neptune wants to dissolve systems that don't work anymore. So how are they going to do that? They're going to do that by very Aryan ways, being warlike ways. That's why we're seeing those things play out 165 years ago. Okay, identity and sovereignty, Neptune and Aries, 61 to 74, civil wars, independent struggles, national unification. This is that whole Aries kind of energy. So this is what played out. So we could be expecting pretty big things as it settles into its new home. So I'm going to take a look at a personal nature of what house this is going to be sitting in for you based on your ascendant sign or your rising sign. So let's get stuck into these readings. I'll timestamp them so you can have a look. I'm just taking a look. I'll just bring my chart up so I can have a look at where everything is. Okay, so we have Aries. Aries is going to be a first house, obviously, because it's moving into your sign of Aries. So this is going to affect you on a very personal level. For me, when Pluto moved into my first house, big changes, undeniable changes I couldn't avoid, changes that almost were forced upon me. But that's the nature of Pluto. Pluto's a little bit more destructive in its nature. Neptune's a little softer in its nature, but it is still the urge for you to dissolve anything that's not working for you personally. Where have you felt like your personal sovereignty has been affected badly? What changes do you need to make physically? It's also physical things. What do you need to dissolve from your body? What things are you putting in your body that are not good for you that you need to dissolve those bad habits? Things like that. It's based on your identity of you being your first house. So it says this is the things that I need to dissolve. Neptune's coming into this house. It's very powerful energy, but it's also very gentle energy. So it wants to do it, but it wants to do it for your highest good, and it will affect parts of you, your identity, your personality, the way you look as well. So these things are going to be dissolved, things that are not working for you. Maybe you've had the same haircut for a very long time, and Neptune's saying, okay, that's not working for you now. We're going into a whole new cycle, new generation. Let's change things up a little bit with your appearance because it's very first house based. Then we have for Taurus, this is going to be your 12th house. 12th house is about endings. It's the last house in the 12th house is the last house in the zodiac. So this is where endings happen. It is ruled by Pisces, which is ruled by Neptune, which heightens the energy of this activation of what's going on here. So the 12th house Taurus is going to be really completing things and dissolving things that aren't working for you, things you've been feeling over this end of this year that, okay, this I just don't, I loved this once, but I don't love it anymore. I used to love the work that I did. I used to love the house that I lived in, the town that I lived in, but it's just not working for me anymore. So we're closing doors, we're ending chapters, ending cycles, we're dissolving things that don't work for us in order for us to move forward and just be open to new opportunities. So while sometimes endings are challenging, it ultimately will be for the better. It's to move you forward on your cycle, on your evolution, on your path. Now, also, the 12th house represents boundaries. It represents boundaries between the physical world and the spiritual world. Maybe you're getting more in touch with your spiritual body that way because it's very Neptunian energy, meaning you're becoming more psychic. You're getting more in touch with that spiritual body. So you're breaking down those boundaries between the spiritual body and the physical body. So senses for you, Taurus, because you're all about the physical senses. Maybe you're expanding those physical senses to be more about the next light body as well. So where you're very good at being in touch with your physical senses, being 12th house Neptune, maybe we're dissolving the boundaries between the spiritual and the physical, that's going to allow you more enhanced senses. So you're going to be extra sensory. You're going to, maybe for you, it will play out differently for everybody, depending, of course, if you've got planets in your 12th house, depending on the aspects it's making. But on a very basic, broad term way, this is breaking down or dissolving the boundaries between the physical and the spiritual body. Also ending cycles and closing doors for things that are just not working for you anymore. Gemini ascendant. We are looking at your 11th house. The 11th house is all about community. It's about outside of your family dynamics, your community. It's YouTube community. It is projects. It's, things that you engage in, that you enjoy, things that you like doing. Maybe you've been involved in a certain group that you've been in for a very long time, and it's okay, now I need to dissolve. That's coming to an end. Maybe it will naturally come to an end. Maybe it will just you be the urge to think, okay, I need something different. Maybe it's your YouTube channel. Maybe it's dissolving things around those kind of things that have been holding you back, the boundaries, the borders. Maybe it's just dissolving those things altogether because you're coming into a new cycle. You're starting something different, starting something new. So you'll be letting go. Neptune represents letting go. So you're letting go of some things to be more aligned with the broader part of you, the spiritual part of you, the light body part of you, more engaged in that part, but in a community basis, in a 11th house way. 11th house being projects, the things you're into, the groups that you're involved in, the friendship groups, those kind of things. Or, YouTube's also very, very much 11th house of community. So those things will be changing for you, Gemini. Those things will be dissolving if they're not working for you. Maybe if you just started them, it's the start of a cycle, but I'm talking long things that you've been in for the last cycle, the last 14 years, community-wise, your friendship groups, the activities that you've done, the projects that you've enjoyed. Maybe you'll find those things shifting and changing. Maybe you'll be getting more involved in spiritual pursuits and your spiritual body. Maybe you're going to have your eyes open to the disillusionments around your role within community, your role within friendship groups. So maybe those things are going to start to come to light for you, Gemini. Cancer, the 10th house. This is a big one, Cancer. This is big changes in your career, big changes in the job you do, your role in life. Okay, maybe you've done something for a very long time, that role that you had. And maybe you're starting to see clearly now that you're not so aligned to it as what you were, because Neptune is about disillusionment. It's about when it's negative, you've been disillusioned about being happy in a certain industry or area, job, but maybe you'll start to see clarity and like, oh no, there's something more that I want. There's something more that's going to really represent my whole body. It aligns to my purpose, my mission, what I do in this life, the role that I do, the job that I had, the career that I have. I really need it to be something that's more aligned with my soul purpose, my soul body, because the Neptune represents your soul. It's anything that's not tangible. It's outside of your physical body. So maybe your job was very physical. Maybe your job was about something that is in a very physical industry, or about the body, about the hands-on kind of thing. But Neptune coming into the 10th house for you is saying, okay, now let's start paying attention to also our spiritual aspect, our soul aspect, our soul purpose. Are we really aligned to that, and fade away any disillusionment about the job that I have been doing and the purpose that I really know that I need to be achieving here, or really know it's not even achievement, it's flow. What path do I need to be flowing on in my job or my career or the role that I do? Leo, this is your 9th house. So Leo, for you, as Neptune moves into your 9th house, now keep in mind it's different for everyone based on, if there's any planets in there, what aspects it's making to your 9th house, but just on a very basic level. Leo, this is 9th house for you. It's travel, inspiration, optimism, it's expansion, it's growth. So Neptune says, how can I make your life bigger? How can I make your life better? How can I make you be more adventurous, have more exploration, more travel, more knowledge, higher education? How can I make it so you enjoy your life on such a big, optimistic way? So what does it do? It says, okay, there's some things that's in your life that are blocks or hurdles, are causing a block for this expansiveness, or a block to your exploration or travel. I'm going to come in and I'm going to dissolve those boundaries for you. So that's what Neptune is going to do for you. It's going to find ways that light you up in a way that is more about exploring, more about being aligned to your soul's mission, more aligned to your light body or your soul. Dissolving blocks for you that are just not working in the area of 9th house of philosophical pursuits, tarot, astrology, religious pursuits, or dogma, indoctrination, right and wrong, your ethics, your morals. You could be having those lines dissolved where you've been very ethical about certain things. Maybe these are going to be more broader, like more expanded, because it's 9th house energy of expansion, but it's also about not being so stuck in black and white. Maybe there's more about dissolving these kind of boundaries between the grey area. So there's more dissolving going on there for you. Maybe it brings to light any disillusionment that you've had about morals or ethics or dogmas, or the way the world is. So maybe you're going to have a bit more clarity on that, based on your spiritual body, based on your soul's mission, based on connecting your physical body with your spiritual body. Virgo, this is your 8th house. Neptune in your 8th house. So for you, Virgo, Neptune in your 8th house is a very personal thing. Neptune is 8th house is very personal. It's where the things we hide about ourselves, it's our shadows, it's our deep desires, it's the things we don't make public. It's also how we share ourselves with other people in a very sensual way. It's sharing money, it's sharing dreams, it's sharing hopes, it's the people we're connected to. It's very much like relationships, but very deep and meaningful type of relationships. Now you have Neptune coming into this planet, into this house. So, and it says that, okay, Neptune's coming in to say, how can we dissolve any issues around how you share your power distribution, because it's also about power distribution. It represents, in your relationships, the power dynamics. Maybe there's controlling issues. How can we come in and dissolve those things that are just not working? How can we come in and make things better or easier or more flowing for you when it comes to shared money, shared joint ventures, shared dreams or hopes? Or it's all about all the deepest, darkest parts of yourself, of course. So things, it represents taboo subjects. It represents things like tarot, of course, not everybody, it's not mainstream, things like that, witchcraft, those kind of things that are taboo. Maybe there's boundaries or limitations placed on you, and Neptune comes in and says, okay, I'm going to lift the veil of disillusionment around those subjects, and I'm going to allow you to the freedom to pursue your heart's desires in a healthy and positive way that does not hurt anybody else, but strips away any negative connotations to things that have been traditionally saw as taboo subjects. So it's going to allow you the dissolving of boundaries or hurdles placed upon those subjects. Libra. Libra, we're looking at your 7th house. We've got Neptune entering your 7th house. So if you are a Libra ascendant, this is ascendants only. This is playing out in your relationship house. This is your closest relationships. You're also business partners as well, falls under the 7th house of 7th house. So here we see Neptune coming in to dissolve any injustices, any imbalances within relationships, because you're the scales. It's all about balance and fairness within relationships. And when these relationships are not balanced and fair, Neptune comes in and says, let me help you. Let me dissolve the things that are not working here. Let me dissolve the disillusionment of how you're seeing the reality of things. Let me show you the reality of things. Let me guide you in a very gentle and flowing way into the best approach for your relationships, the best relationships if you're not already in one. Let me guide you towards relationships that are more aligned to your soul purpose, your soulmates kind of energy here. So Neptune moves in and says, okay, I'm going to dissolve any blocks that you're having, any disillusionment about spouses, disillusionment about the perfect spouse as well. I'm going to remove or dissolve anything there that is not right. It's not reality, because remember, Neptune is also plays sometimes in the field of the unreal, the non-tangible, where physical relationships are the physical, they're tangible, they're real things. So sometimes you can be all in the fantasy about, okay, this is my perfect partner, this is what I expect him or her to be. And then Neptune comes in and says, okay, let's break down these walls here, these expectations, these are disillusioned fantasy thinking about relationships. But also, if you're in a relationship and you're not seeing your partner for their true value, or you are seeing them for the value you think they have, but they don't really have. It removes disillusionment. It removes fantasy thinking. So those things will be dissolved in order for you to have the best relationship possible. It only wants to help you. It wants to move you forward in a relationship that's aligned to your spiritual aspect, to your soul, to your soulmate. It wants to put you in touch with your soulmate, or really strengthen that connection to your soulmate, because Neptune is the non-tangible. It's the spiritual aspect, the soul aspect. And that's what it really wants to make sure there's a strong connection there, because we're talking about relationships and connections. Scorpio, this is your 6th house. 6th house is your health. It's your well-being. It's also the care industry, how you care for others, people caring for you. Neptune coming into your 6th house is going to put the focus on your well-being. So it's going to come in and help you see clearly what you're doing wrong with your health. So if you believe that you're doing the right thing, you might have to start your eyes opening towards foods you thought were good that are not really good. So things that are doing more harm than good to your body. So I know, even though it's not about body, 6th house is about the body. It is definitely about the body. And here we're integrating Neptune being the non-tangible, the non-physical, the non-body. So here it wants to say, okay, how can I align the non-body with the body? So we're talking about our spiritual well-being. We're talking about Reiki healing here. We're talking about other modalities of healing. So it may be really good for you to either engage in some kind of practitioner that does healing, and engage in a few sessions of healing, or maybe it's time for you to learn a modality of healing, because this is Neptune coming in to say, okay, let's engage the spiritual aspect of healing with the physical aspect of healing of the sixth house. So we've got that going on. We've got disillusionment around releasing anything that is not good for you, that you thought was good for you, those kind of things for you. Now, Sagittarius, we're playing out in your fifth house. Fifth house is creativity. It's your creative expansion. Now, for you, amongst other things, of course, fifth house is also where you find fun, pleasure, joy, happiness, creative energy, children here also in the fifth house. But first thing I'm picking up for you, Sagittarius, is creative downloads, inspirational downloads. These are you being more in touch with non-tangible spiritual connection. It's the creative visions that come through that you create with your hands. So, or you paint, or you sketch, or you sing. It's word you write. You might be downloading song lyrics or a book. It's very much what you're getting from the spiritual connection. Why Neptune's in there, because it's all about the spiritual body entering into your fifth house of creativity. So wildly creative energy coming from spiritual inspiration for you then to do something physical with it with your hands and create something out of it. You also want to take it bigger and more expansive, of course, because Sagittarius, you're ruled by Jupiter, which means you may just go next level with this creative ability. Capricorn, this is your fourth house. Neptune's coming into your house of home and family. It's coming in to dissolve anything that's not working. Maybe the house you live in just doesn't work for you anymore. So Neptune says, okay, let's make things happen where we can line up something new for you, a better fit for you. It's being more in touch to, I'm feeling manifestation too, for creating the perfect home, the perfect environment, manifesting that into your life, because you've got to remember that Neptune is not tangible, even though the fourth house is tangible. It's the house, it's the home. The spiritual aspect of that is being able to create something that is, and why I'm doing the DNA spiral, it is funneling down from the spiritual energy into the physical form, manifesting within the home, the house, the family. So it's bringing in positive vibes, it's bringing in, but also it could also be dissolving anything that is just not working. It could be making changes within your house, home. You could be changing, renovating, changing your furniture, throwing out, painting the walls a different color, just bringing in this whole soul energy, because it's Neptune. It says, okay, let's get in touch with our higher self. Let's get in touch with what our soul wants to bring, and let's create it in our sanctuary. Let's make our sanctuary a space of soul, a place where I feel energized within my soul body. Because here Neptune just wants to make it remove the boundaries between your spiritual body and your physical body, and it's doing it through your home or your family. So it's making you more aligned to your spiritual needs, to your desires on a very spiritual way. What does your soul really want here? It's sanctuary. Your soul wants peace, it wants contentment, and wants sanctuary, and it finds that in the fourth house. But Neptune comes in to do what it needs to do in a soft and gentle way, because it's Neptune sensitivity energy. It could also bring in intuition here as well, but I'm feeling it brings in these changes in a soft and gentle way, but it makes your home more sanctuary like, so that your soul can feel really invigorated within your sanctuary. Aquarius, this is taking place in your third house. Third house next year is where you're going to be finding Neptune. Third house represents your speech, your communication, your learning, your understanding. It is your community on a smaller basis, so smaller cousins, smaller kind of community. Changes coming into the way you communicate, dissolving the boundaries between the physical and the spiritual. First thing I'm thinking there, it's making your communication with spirit much simpler. It's dissolving the boundaries for downloads or for spirit communication, mediumship. So I'm feeling that energy around Aquarius, communicating with the spiritual body a lot more, your higher self, getting in touch with your higher self and being able to communicate and have a very clear stream of communication between the light body, spiritual body, and the physical body. So this is what I'm seeing playing out for you for Neptune entering this house. Neptune's also, I'm picking up energy around lies here with communication, because it's communication, what people have been telling you, what you're telling yourself. If you've been disillusioned about anything and the lies that you tell yourself, Neptune comes in and says, okay, let's dissolve disillusionment thinking, because Neptune, third house is thinking. It's ruled by Gemini. So let's dissolve any disillusionment thinking, fantasy thinking, and living in that spiritual world. So, but it wants to bring you into a physical, because it wants to align the boundaries or dissolve the boundaries between the spiritual and the physical here. Tapping in Aquarius. So for you, it's all about communication. It's about communicating with others, what you talk about, how you learn, the things you're finding yourself engaging in, wanting more information about. It's about Neptunian topics. Neptunian topics, of course, are meditation, spirituality, healing. It's modalities of anything that's non-tangible, anything outside the physical body. So it's you wanting to really engage and learn about those kind of topics, but also you want to communicate them as well. You want to teach them, you want to learn them, you want to speak them. But again, it's also, I feel, about definitely speaking and communicating between the physical body and the spiritual body as well. So tapping into mediumship or tapping into downloads through communication with your spiritual body or your higher self. And then finally, Pisces, this is taking place for you in your second house. Second house is your skills. Second house is your resources. It's your confidence. It's how you make your money. So this house here, it's definitely money, because it's a Virgo ruled house. It's generally ruled by Taurus. So the senses could be heightened here as well. So Neptune moving into your second house. Neptune comes in with this flowing, beautiful energy. Pisces, it's your ruler. So you're familiar with the energy. You love the energy. It might enhance your psychic abilities. It might your psychic skills, because it's a house of skills. You can also make money for them. So it can be looking at the skills you have and you can make money from them. But it wants to make your skills more esoteric, dissolving boundaries between physical skills and spiritual skills. So this could be skills that you've come into from past lives, that you've had in past lives. They may be downloaded. Intuition, psychic abilities, they may be all enhanced. They may be more, you may find them more as heightened skills, because of course those kind of skills, spiritual abilities, psychic intuition, those kind of things are not tangible. Those kind of things are outside of the physical body, which Neptune loves. So and you love as well, Pisces, because you're very flowy and in that kind of energy. You're without bounds within the spiritual and the physical anyway. That really suits you. So Neptune here for you in the second house just makes you more skilled. It's going to up your skill level with these things. Also bringing in opportunities for you to make money out of these skills. You may become a healer practitioner. You may become a psychic reader and read for other people where you make money. It's about converting your skills to resources. It may just make you more confident in your skills. You may have a leveling up when it comes to your intuition or anything outside of the physical body. And this may take you to the next level, which makes you so much more confidence. So for you, it's going to be no problem. It's your ruling planet that's sitting in your second house. So this, I feel, is just right up your alley. It's all about flow. It's about confidence. You'll love this energy, love the feeling. It does, of course, dissolve. I have to talk about the negative traits and the fantasy thinking. So I do have to talk about how sometimes Neptune can promote escapism, escaping within meditation, escaping within with the beyond boundaries and outside of the physical body. So it can also bring more heightened states of that, so be aware of that. It can also bring more fantasy style thinking or disillusionment as well when it comes to your skills. So being really able to see what skills you have and versus what skills you don't have, and really being aware of reality when it comes to your skills, your confidence, or your resources, your money, even how you make your money. So thank you so much for joining me. I hope you enjoyed that little Neptune little reading when it comes to all of your signs. Drop me a comment, let me know what you think about that, and I will see you on the next reading.